Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Jakarta Tech Talk. Joining us today, we have Ryan Kuprick to discuss the Jakarta EE Community Acceptance Testing Initiative. Ryan is a CPG and Retail Formulation R&D Development Senior Manager at Dassault Systems, co-author of EJB in Action, 2nd edition from Manning, and the NetBeans certification guide from McGraw & Hill. If you guys have any questions for Ryan as we move through the presentation today, feel free to ask it in the chat or using the Ask a Questions tab at the bottom. Without any further delay, Ryan, over to you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to welcome everyone today to Jakarta EE Community Acceptance Testing Initiative. This is a new initiative that we are starting today, and I'll be briefly going over that. A little background on me: I'm also the president of the Jakarta EE Ambassadors. The Jakarta EE Ambassadors, we were founded back in 2016, 5 years ago now, with the goal of helping to push Java EE and now Jakarta EE forward. At the time, there was a bit of a slow in development of Java EE, and we jumped in to try to help push it forward. We're an independent grassroots group. We were rebranded as the Jakarta EE Ambassadors from the Guardians after Oracle donated Java EE to the Eclipse Foundation. So we're committed to moving Jakarta EE forward through advocacy to drive adoption and participation. So we organize talks, prepare material, and try to drive, engage, and help developers engage in the process. Jakarta EE is an enterprise standard that's been around for over 20 years right now, and is the foundation of many careers in the Java ecosystem. So there's probably not a Java developer out there that does not use a Jakarta EE Java EE API in some form to get their job done. So it's a really critical part of the ecosystem, and our goal is to try to drive involvement and get developers involved in the process. Guide them for where they can contribute, show them how they can participate in the process, because it is, unlike other technologies out there, it is driven, it has a driving diverse and community behind it driving it forward. There's the link at the bottom of the page for who we are. You can see if you're interested in joining our mailing list and possibly being listed there. Please feel to fill out the form and join us today. Join our mailing list so you get announcements for things that are going on in the Java EE space, as well as our Twitter account where we tweet out updated Jakarta EE, Java EE news that developers should be aware about. So this went live last night. This is our initiative for community acceptance testing, which we are doing for Jakarta EE 9.1. As many people know, that Jakarta EE 9.1 didn't introduce any new features. It is the big bang namespace change to the platform that was dictated by legal as a result of the donation from Oracle to the Eclipse Foundation. There's a link to the blog so you can read more about it. There are links up on the blog, which I'll have in the presentation today, but it'll be actually easier for you to click on, go to the blog and click on the links from there to join our initiative. And so this initiative, the objective behind this initiative is to test the specifications standalone, test existing applications deploying to Jakarta EE 9.1, go through the process of converting Java EE, Jakarta EE applications to the namespace, and also testing the impact of running on Java 11. So as I mentioned, it's a big bang, so your code will be affected by this for moving to EE 9.1. And so we would like to shake things up, because this impacts not only the application code that you've written, it also impacts the libraries upon which you depend, libraries like prime faces. It does actually impact Spring, because Spring does use Java EE technologies. It does impact microprofile, so it impacts many things beyond just Java, and it impacts standalone Java applications if you're using like Hibernate or JPA implementation or JSON API in a desktop application, or in a for example, a microprofile application as well. So the sign up, You can sign up there to let us know that you're participating. We'll communicate to people that sign up to provide help and to solicit feedback. There's also a Google link for providing feedback. What have you discovered? What have been your experience? In testing out Jakarta EE9. So if you click on that link right there, you can provide feedback. And we're going to be running this from today, July 28th, until October 1st of this year. And then we're going to summarize the data and do some blog entries. And throughout the process, when you submit feedback, we're going to, if you run into a problem, we're going to try to help you solve that problem and get feedback to the relevant specification or implementation that you ran into an issue. So, why JCAT? Why are we doing this? Well, TCK and QA can only cover so much with this type of transition. Libraries must be upgraded for your applications. For example, if you're using prime faces or Achillean, there's going to be ramifications to those. And test, as I mentioned, test libraries must be upgraded. And there's also no substitute for real-world applications. So, testing your application, seeing how hard it is to transition to it, testing, the library support for the new versions. There's always unexpected with software. There's always unexpected surprises, and that's what we're trying to do, is kick the tires on this. This initiative is similar. If you're familiar with the NetBeans project, NetBeans has a NetCat project where they do acceptance testing of a new release of NetBeans beforehand. So our process is modeled on the NetBeans NetCat. That's where we initially got the idea from, to test. To do basically community acceptance testing before, to help developers move forward. As I mentioned, the Jakarta EE 9.1 is a big bang change. The namespace changed from Java X to Jakarta. So there were no new features added to the platform in this. No new features were added to the platform in this release. So mainly it's changing the everywhere in your code that you're using Java X to Jakarta. So the release dates, Jakarta 9 was released on November 22nd of last year, and 9.1 was released with Java 11 support on May 25th of this year. Vendors are now releasing. I have several slides on the vendors that so far have released implemented runtimes for it. There's different betas going on for Jakarta EE 9 support. So it is getting out there. This is a major change. Many of the containers will still support running existing applications unchanged. So that is an option for them. But if you choose to use any of the new features, that are going to come out in Jakarta EE 10, you're going to need to switch your code over to the new namespace. It also impacts deployment descriptors. So as you can see, the namespace, the XML namespaces have changed. So you also need to change those as well. So that's what we're testing, is the impact upon your code base, because you need to get your code base and your libraries upgraded to the latest. In order to make the change, you need to go through a code base and do basically a find replace on the code base. Note that not all Java X packages get changed to Jakarta EE, depending upon what you're doing. Also, if you're making the jump to 9.1, which is the Java 11 support, I'm finally getting off of Java 8, you might run into some additional issues having to drop libraries or some API. There's been some changes to Java since 8 that might impact your code, might not. I've seen more of an impact on desktop applications than EE applications, but that can be part of the feedback. There are 2 utilities out there for doing a transformation. So there's the Eclipse Transformer. There's actually, I believe, a previous tech talk on that. I put in a link to the YouTube video so you can find out more information on that. There's also a good blog from Pyera on it as well. And there's also the Tomcat Jakarta EE migration tool, which is a shell script that you aim at your source code, and it goes through and changes the Java packages over to the newer Java packages. For these utilities, there's Maven, Ant, and Shell integration available. I haven't checked for Gradle integration yet. I haven't come across a Gradle plugin for that, but that's something that would be very good for the community to try to write or provide. So if you're a tool vendor, a developer out there that has the free time, that would be a good area to get involved. So the ecosystem is large, so this is why a lot of testing needs to be done. So this impacts the namespace change, will impact Eclipse Link, Hibernate, if you're using Delta Spike. So it will have an impact upon the libraries that you're using. You'll need, and that's the reason behind this specification, also unknown to a lot of people, is that Spring applications will also be impacted by this later in the year. Spring contributes and uses several Java EE technologies, including servlet, JPA, and batching to a lesser extent, or they're a major contributor to the batching. Spring applications, not only Java EE applications and desktop applications using EE technologies will be impacted, but also Spring applications. So this is going to have a large impact upon the Java ecosystem. So if you are writing an application in Tomcat, you need to take that into account. It will also impact microprofile applications. So if you're using microprofile builds upon and uses many of the Jakarta EE APIs. So it will depend upon that. So then Jakarta EE 9 containers that are available today for testing include Glassfish, early releases of Pyra, as well as Open Liberty and Wildfly. So you can actually start testing code today, taking snippets of code or parts of the application. If you don't run on these containers, you can test out some of the technologies you depend upon to see how they will work. 9.1 containers with full Java 11 support are listed here, as you can see. That includes Glassfish, Wildfly, etc., as well as Open Liberty, and web profile as well. So if you're a web profile, you're running in Tomcat or something, that is also impacted. So even if you're just running your application, you have just a Tomcat application, you are going to be impacted by these changes. So testing ideas. So if you're looking at where to get started, how do you start looking at Jakarta EE 9? Maybe your company is not ready yet to make the transition, or doesn't really have any idea what the impact is going to be. We've put together previously put together a Java EE starter example, which you can check out or clone from GitHub and run the conversion utilities on that just to see what it's going to be like. So you'll need to update not only the tooling, you need to not only update the tooling, but also run the conversion utilities on the thing. Test applications, convert cargo tracker. So this is an excellent example to get involved, is to convert the cargo tracker from Jakarta EE 9 to 9. Or from the current Java 8 EE 8 to either 9 or 9.1, and contribute back to that on the cargo tracker. But that's a larger application that you could see the impact on a real world application if your application that you work on a daily basis is too large. Test applications, standalone, testing out, the impact of the APIs on Java SE. If you're using JSON applications, Spring applications, all of these are great ways to get involved. The first two, the Java EE starter and the cargo tracker, are an easy way to get your feet wet with EE 9 and test to see how you're going to, put some code through put some effort into actually doing a transition and see what's involved. Although it's a big bang, it's not major. There's not, just a package renaming. It's not new features being added. You're not dealing with changes as much as you are just going through an existing large code base and changing the package imports for each file. So another excellent example is the Boilerplate Project, which I put in the link below. He has many good links for transitioning to Jakarta EE, so I recommend also checking out this project if you are, definitely following this project here for doing the transition. And so, why are we doing this? Well, 80% of Java applications use Jakarta EE APIs, and it underpins many frameworks. Businesses depend heavily upon Jakarta EE. Many developers have built their careers around this. So, making sure that this is successful is really important for everybody's career and everybody's job. So that's why we're pushing forward with a community acceptance testing to put it through its paces and get some real world feedback. Obviously, this is a big bang change, so business is going to be, not immediately jumping on it. So in the next year, companies, as more containers get released, like Open Liberty, etc., will be jumping to it. But we need to kick the tires right now and put it through its paces, and see where the pain points are. So this is just a generic list of ways of contributing to Jakarta EE, the mailing list, etc. for doing that. The Jakarta EE Ambassadors. So if you follow us on Twitter, we'll be tweeting about this. You can check out our blog, our website. You can get more information on this initiative and to join in doing this. So this is really, we're going to try to collect the feedback. We're going to use this as a basis for presentations going forward to tell people, where the pain points are. I think what we'll discover in the end is that the transition, although it is a big bang and requires changing source code files, it's not a major breaking change for many applications, and that's what we're hoping to prove and make sure that that is the case for the community. So that's it. That's our major announcement today, that we're starting this initiative and we'll be collecting feedback. Are there any questions, comments? Okay. So that's what I had. I'll hop back over to, let me, okay, end the show. So we will be sharing data continuously. Yes, we'll be sharing things as we find them out over the next couple of months. So we will be doing blog posts on it. And trying to address tooling issues where necessary. So if we discover that there's a real pain point, we hope to jump in there and drive development on either the specs or on the tooling to make it easy for developers. And so really, it's really important that people start playing with tools right now, so that when your company decides to make the jump to Jakarta EE, that the tools are there and that they work correctly. So that's what we're trying to do right now, is get that stuff straightened away.
All right, so it looks like that's it for questions. So I just want to thank you for that excellent presentation today. This is just a reminder to everyone in the audience, if you have any final questions, you can pop them in the chat or using the Ask a Questions tab. I'll give you a few moments to do so. The next Jakarta Tech Talk happens on August 11th with Steve Mildage, as he joins us to present Jakarta concurrency. And you can register using the link I am putting in the chat now. That's in there now. And we're also looking to book more Jakarta Tech Talks throughout the summer in 2021. So if you have something you're interested in presenting, you can fill out the following link. There you go. And finally, if you have any feedback on this presentation or on our Jakarta Tech Talks in general, you can fill out the following survey at the bottom. There will be a green button that pops up. So you can just fill that out. And I don't see any other questions. So I'd just like to thank Ryan again for today and this excellent presentation. And thank you to everyone who attended. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.